using Google Forms and the add-on DocAppender to track learning skills or assessments, success criteria, all that. So I'll give you a brief overview on how it works, and then I'll show you how to set it up. One bonus of using this is, let's say you have two teachers teaching the same class, like 0.5, 0.5. The same files can be shared and both teachers can be inputting at any time. Same with rotary teachers. If it's just learning skills, you can share the same form and anybody can enter. So again, I'll show you the how-tos afterwards, but this is just how it works. So if I notice that student A and student B both today did a great job transitioning between tasks, they followed the routines and maybe followed instructions, and then I would submit that, and then maybe I noticed that only this student, even though my focus might have been responsibility for the week, I did notice that they consistently kept their things organized, and you put in as many as you want. So then what happens with this is two things. You can either have them put into a spreadsheet, and then anything you've put in is sorted by student, what you've put in, and the category of that question. So it's all put in as a spreadsheet. Now, when you're clicking two students at the same time, that is where that difficulty comes in, that it would be sorted by whoever was first. So you could just copy that whole line, paste in a new one, and take out the first kid's or other kids' names, so then it is tracked for each individual student. The other place that it goes is into a folder that you have pre-created, and again, I will show this afterwards. And it will then, each kid has its own file. And just give that a second. Oh, maybe not that kid. This folder. So each kid has their own file, and then it shows what you've selected for that student. Let's find one that has something. So anything here that I put on here. So here's a lesson learned. If you're clicking two students, because I said both Alexis and Brianna followed transitions, this is all showing up on Alexis's form. So I will now, from here on in, not be clicking two students at the same time, because I want to share this with an individual. So each student, this would be Alexis' page, I would be sharing this with her, so her and her family would be able to see anything that I put in. You don't have to share with students, but this is one way to open that communication of this worked, this didn't. You could also create this Google form, not for learning skills, but for academics. So once you put in each kid's name, then maybe question one would be paragraph writing level 4. And what makes a level 4? Question 2 would be paragraph writing level 3, and what makes theirs a level 3. You could also put in just a text box, and you would be typing in feedback or observations, and then that would also be put into their individual file. The how-to piece. So let's start back from the very beginning. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to create a folder for the class that you want. So you're going to create a new folder, and let's say class 5A. And then inside that folder, you're going to create, and the setup can be a little time consuming, but it's worth it. So create a Google Doc for each student. So let's say there is a student, let's say Ethan, and then I just exit. It'll show up. It's a little delayed, but it'll catch up. Let's throw in a Cody. Cody has shown up in the tab, so I know it's there. New, and let's say there's a Kaylin. So I'll just go for this 3 students right now, but you would make that for all the students in the class. Again, I could share this whole folder, or I could make a copy and then share it with another teacher. So if the teacher wanted to make their own, taught a different subject and wanted to do their own survey, but not have to create every single file, you can just copy the folder like I've done for this one and share it with that teacher, and they can use it as their own. So now that I have a folder with all my students in it, I'm going to go New, More, Google Forms. And before you get started, you're going to want to create an add-on. So you're going to go to More, and you're going to go to Add-ons, and you're going to search DocAppender. Now I've already put mine on, but it would say free. You'd click free, and I'll use this one as an example. It's going to give you pop-ups that you want to accept, that you're going to allow all these things to happen. And then once you accept that, your DocAppender will be here. In this little puzzle piece is your add-ons. So now that my survey is up, I'm going to click DocAppender. I'm going to open the sidebar. And from this point, you're really just going to follow the instructions, but I'll do a quick run through. So let's say this is going to be our patterning strand. Question 1, I put in each name. So we made a, who did we make? We made an Ethan, we made a Cody, and we made a Kaylin. So every student that you made a file for, you're going to make that the first name. Now, I'm going to suggest that every question you make checkboxes, but as I said earlier, if I checked both Ethan and Cody at the same time, both their names would end up on each other's file. So I'm now going to get in the habit of just submitting it and then going back and doing the same thing for the next kid and not clicking 2 kids unless I'm not sharing their individual files with them and it's only for me. So then I'm going to add a new question, and let's say uses vocabulary. And again, I'm going to switch it to checkbox. So consistently and frequently, constantly and frequently uses vocabulary. Understands oral, math vocabulary, but doesn't use it when speaking. Maybe I notice they refer to WordWall to find appropriate vocabulary. So I would use any success criteria here that I've created with the students. Clearly I'm just making this up on the spot, but what am I looking for? What am I evaluating as their level 4, 3, 2, 1? And that's what I would put into here. I would also, let's make a new question, and instead of multiple choice, you can do drop down. Let's do a paragraph, and these could be just observations and conversations. Okay, so to create or select the drive folder, and you can do as many questions as you want over here. To create or select the drive folder that will contain the Google Docs that will get selected by name and be appended via this form, make sure the folder has appropriately named docs in it before proceeding to step 2. So I've already created that folder. So I'm going to say pick from drive, and we called it class 5A. So that's the one I'm selecting. And now form submissions will be added to the target doc that you have placed in this folder. Yes, so we have the folder we want. Next. Choose, sorry, I'm trying to move this. Choose the multiple choice list or checkbox questions that will determine which documents to be appended from. So let's refresh. And name, so that's what it's using to populate the questions over. Okay, so once we've done that, we want to save. We're going to go on to the next. So then it will give you your options. We want to include the name. You want the timestamp because you want to know what day it was that you've been documenting. And then it will give you all the questions that you have. So use this vocabulary, observations, conversations. Now you have your choice here of bulleted, vertical tables, or horizontal in rows. So I'll show you what each one looks like. We'll collect vertical tables for now, and then I'll show you the different ones. Yes. Okay, and then save changes. You can go back and change these at any time. So now that I have the survey, I'm going to hit send, and you can either email it to yourself, or I just copy. So you click the link in the middle here and copy and paste it, and then just paste it in a URL and save that on whatever device you're going to use. So if you're carrying your iPad around, or your phone, or the computer, and just add it to your favorites, and then you know where you get that, or have it always somewhere easy accessible in your email, and then you just pull it up. So again, I'm going to click Kaylin. I'm going to say she's doing these two things, and I'm going to submit. I've already submitted some other ones, so we'll look at them. And then I'm going to go back to my, we're not in the screen here. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive, and I'm in my folder, so I'm going to look at Kaylin's folder. So this was the vertical square. So it says here was her first one, second one. Now this second one was not a bullet, it was a typed one. So the typed ones work just as well. Here I clicked all three, so it doesn't separate them how, I don't know, it just separates them with commas, it looks like. So it depends how you want to organize it, if you want them separately, but I mean, bottom line, they're all in there and they're all time-stamped. So if you wanted to go back in to edit your survey, you've realized you've missed something or you want to add something, you're going to go to your drive, my drive, and you're going to find your forms. I think that was this one I was using. Yes. And now I want to add a question, or maybe I want to add a student has shown up. Now, if you add a student here, you have to make sure in your folder 5A, you also add that student. So you'd have to go into here and you'd have to add that student, or else it won't accept it in here. Okay, so I can either add to a question that's already there by continuing to add options. You can always add an other, and then that leaves you a typing box. And then if I wanted another question, I'm just going to add new question and new question for simplicity. A, B, C. And then it's automatically updated, it automatically saves. If you want to double check if it's gone to your appender, so you open up DocAppender in the sidebar again, and it's still class 5A, still populating to this, so you have to hit save and populate. Next, and you want to add in that new question so that it's being documented as well. Save changes, and then I'll just quickly show the other two versions. So you saw vertical tables, there's single horizontal table and bulleted list. So here is the table that's going to continue, and then as you would enter in more, it would just continue down, but it would keep the new timestamps. Now this is while I was still playing around, so again, I had clicked two students at once, they both went into the same file, and if I was to share this with the student it belongs to, they would see both names. So I suggest only clicking one student at a time if you're going to share the file with the student. Now this is Brianna's file, so it has both her and Alexis in here. Now if I went to Alexis's file, this does show up. So if they're doing a group task, then it probably is okay to share both of them and they can both see that they're getting those same observations if they are performing same. And one last review, once you're done, you can always find it in your drive. You go back to the form, you can edit from there, or you can see your responses in your spreadsheet or send the link to yourself.